Hi guys! Okay, so now that you've done your research and you've filled out your graphic organizer where you've cited your sources, you've summarized and you've paraphrased and you've direct quoted and you kind of have an idea of where your paper is going to go, we're going to do an outline. The outline is designed so that way you can get your paper set up, and I can also kind of see your thinking, so I can see maybe if we need to move in a different direction or if you're running into walls or perhaps you don't have enough information. It's just a really good way for me to see your thought process before you write the paper. Some of the really most difficult areas for paper writing for students is the introduction and the conclusion. So I have some little anecdotes here to help you with that as well. So we're going to get started, and I'm going to do it just like I've done everything in the past. I'm going to do it in a way that is modeling as if I was doing it like I was you. It's not going to be perfect because I didn't do the research, so I'm just making things up as I go. But I think you'll pretty much get the gist from how I'm going to do this. Okay, to get started, in an introduction, I like to have you use A, B, and C. A being the attention grabber, B being background information, and C being your claim. So starting with the attention grabber, you really should have something or some way to get the person interested in your topic. This could be a surprising statistic or fact. This could be a short little story. This could be an example. There's a lot of different ways you can go about this, but something to get them interested in your topic. I am going to put a surprising fact here. My surprising fact is that vaccines prevent more than 2.5 million deaths each year. Moving on. Now the background information. You have to pretend like the person who's reading your paper has very little information or prior knowledge about your topic. So you need to give them kind of a quick rundown of what your topic even is. So when doing that, you have to kind of think big picture. What do they need to know about this topic before reading my paper? Okay, so I've put in my background information here. It says the smallpox vaccine was invented in 1796 by English physician Edward Jenner. He was the first to publish evidence that it was effective and to provide advice on its production. Since this time, many vaccines have been created and successful at preventing death by disease such as polio, rabies, rotavirus, rubella, shingles, hepatitis, measles, mumps, and more. Without these vaccines, many people would not have been able to live. However, as helpful as vaccines have been, there is some resistance and controversy surrounding the topic. So I'm really giving that background information to my reader. The next thing that I would do is I would then put my claim. You've already come up with your claim last week. And this claim is that where you stand on that topic. So without using the words I think or I believe, because that puts you into it, and your opinion is not what we're writing about. This is an argumentative paper. You have to write your claim. So my claim is vaccines are vital to human health and should be, I wouldn't say should be implemented. Vaccines are vital to human health and should be taken whenever possible. So like I'm saying that vaccines are important and we should all get them. Again, I'm not saying I feel this way. This is just the topic that was easy to write about. So I'm putting this on there. So there's basically my whole first paragraph. Vaccines prevent death. I explain the background info, and then I put in my claim. So that kind of can help you get started on the introduction. I'm going to make this a little smaller. No, I'm not. Okay. The next part is that you're going to start looking at your paragraphs themselves. I think the thing that would probably be the most helpful would be if you start off with a topic sentence that relates back to your claim and that whole paragraph is going to be about. So, for example, my topic sentence for this particular paragraph might be something like, vaccines have helped eradicate 2 deadly diseases in the past 100 years. Then, once I've done that, because I'm this relates back to why it should be taken. Then I would go under here and insert information from notes. So from those notes that you took on your research notes. I would do the same thing for paragraph 2. I would come up with a topic sentence and then insert my support or my evidence from my research. Moving on to the counterclaim. There is a little bit of a way you can do this too. The first thing is when you do the counterclaim is you do just that. You put the counterclaim. Some people believe that vaccines are not good for humans and cause health problems, not solutions. So that's the other side, right? That's the other side of my topic. The next thing you do is you're going to then, now that you've told the other side, you have to give just a little bit of information about that. Not that you agree with it, but you do have to give just a little. And I do mean a little information about that. So I might say there was a scientist who published a study showing that vaccines were causing people to develop autism. That's just that little teeny bit about why people might believe this. The last part of your counterclaim is then how you have to come back and slam that down. You have to say why that's not correct. So here I would write something along the lines of, however, this doctor was later found to have not used credible information and was discredited in the health community. Autism has not been proven to be linked to vaccines. So again, this is just coming back against the counterclaim, the rebuttal. This is called the rebuttal. Lastly, we have our closing. In the closing, we have the X, the Y, and the Z. So in our closing, we basically restate our claim from the beginning, but we say it just a little bit differently so it doesn't sound like we're a broken record just repeating ourselves over and over again. So for example, I said human life and immunity to deadly disease depends on the development and implementation of vaccines. So I'm saying the same thing just a little bit differently. The next part is telling the reader why they should care. This is something that has to come with, like, why should anybody care about this topic? And you can't say you. You can't say you in this paper. So you can't say, like, you should care because you can't do that. But you still have to let them know why they should care. So for example, and I'm making this up off the top of my head, so forgive me if it's not very good, but maybe I would say something like, without vaccines, millions of people would be dead today. In fact, in the current crisis of COVID-19, more and more people are dying without the vaccine. So that just kind of relates it to what's going on in the world today. Then comes the Z, which is the zing. That's like the lasting thought. And this is just, how do you want to leave your reader thinking about it? So you might want to say, again, you can't use you, but you might want to have a way to just really drive your point home with a zing. So for example, I could say something like, so though there are many thoughts on vaccines, it is important to look at the facts and realize how vaccines have allowed people to live their lives without fear of diseases by which their ancestors were murdered. So just saying, like, think about it, if there's people in your life or in your family tree who have been murdered by diseases that you no longer fear, and this is because of vaccines. So it's just that lasting thought. It doesn't have to be super long. It's just that just big picture again. And then here we have, once we put this all together, this would be our closing paragraph. I know this was a long video, and I know this is a lot, but I hope that you can pause, rewind, re-listen, rewatch, do whatever you need to make this a really good outline. Because if you make this a really good outline, by the time you're done with it, your paper is pretty much all written. Aside from making your works cited page and making sure that you have transitions, this is going to be your paper basically. So if you put a lot of work and effort into this right now, I promise it'll go so smoothly later. And I will be able to help you ahead of time before you get into the writing of the paper itself. I hope you have a great day. Again, sorry this is so long, but I hope that it's been really helpful.